Hello, everyone. Thank you for invitation. Hello, dear jury. And how does it work? Okay. And first, I would like to introduce our studio in several slides. So, Kosmos Architects is a studio of 3 partners. We are based in different locations. Life brought us, so we have an office in Moscow. I'm based in Geneva. My partner is based in Vienna and in New York. And we are mostly collaborating, not in one studio. We mostly collaborating by WhatsApp, by Skype, virtually. And first, I would like to say a couple of words about our approach. We studied in a quite academical university, and we're told that architecture is a little bit like this image of Piero della Francesca, a very serene and clean thing. But actually, the architecture today is mostly like infrastructure of the cities, and this is the suspended wires, the scaffoldings, and commercial infrastructure and other things are the things which inspire a lot of our work. Now I would like to give a couple of slides of what we have done before Nike Box MSK has happened. So we have mostly worked on public, cultural, and educational buildings. For instance, this is a museum in Moscow, for Garage Museum. This was a cultural center, Emma, in Moscow, which was a party and a cultural art institution. We used, in all of these projects, we used very cheap and reused materials. We also have one Hans Christian Andersen museum in Denmark several years ago, and we have also initiated several projects. For instance, this is a series of projects, little interventions in public space for Basel, for Switzerland, where we used to live. I will not go into details of these projects, but later we can discuss. And we're also currently working on several more serious projects, like this competition we made in Russia, this one we won in Switzerland, and we are also doing now several airports and particularly interiors for them, and this is a lounge which was recently finished in Ural Mountains in Russia. And now I would like to introduce you Airbox MSK. This is the recent project which we have done. It's located in Gorky Park. It's a very central and prominent location in Moscow, next to the river, not far from Kremlin, where many different pavilions are installed since Soviet times. It's a very beautiful place with lots of green, but it's not a park like a completely natural park. It's a park, it's called the Park for Culture and People. So basically there's lots of buildings and infrastructures, such as, for instance, the new museum by OMA, the Garage Museum, or the temporary pavilion by Shigeru Ban. And basically they needed sport infrastructure, and they created a competition to make a new project, a sports center for everyone, a free one, in the park. And we participated in this competition, and although this is a very central and prominent location, we took our inspiration from these traditional outskirts of Moscow, where people are playing football in a very rough, basketball in a very rough environment, in the so-called korobka. You can see it here. It's basically a simple box made of net, where people just sit, occupy it, and they play sportive games. And we kind of tried to bring this kind of infrastructural, simple, anonymous aesthetics to the center of Moscow. And basically, we looked at the sports center is completely free of charge and open for everyone, but it was brought to the project by Nike. So we also thought of what is basically the basic infrastructure. And we thought of a billboard as an inspiration for this project. And we came up with a pretty simple concept. It's basically a box which flaps out in different directions, and each wall is more than a wall. One wall is a canopy with light, one is basically a vertical symbol in the park, another one is a score for football, and the other flap is a kind of a vertical access to the roof. And our concept was that each part of the building is occupied differently, and people can interact with this, whereas the building stays as a simple and kind of almost engineering infrastructure for this. And this was our proposal for the competition, and this is how it looked in the renderings. And then finally we won this competition. It was around a year ago, and we started a very stressful but interesting process of building, because they wanted to open for the World Championship of Football, which was in Moscow. And basically this was already the developed renderings of the project, and this is the project realized. And it's a very simple plan. The building consists of a two big spaces. One of them on the left, it's a space for gathering people, and on the right there is a sports hall, there is lockers, there is toilets, and there is showers, and there is some places for storage and so on. Basically, the concept was to leave always the facade completely free and transparent, and to have this kind of infrastructural membrane that the building is always visible. This is an image, and here you can see they have made for the project. This is how it looks at night, and for us, this kind of transparency and infrastructural cleanliness of the project was very important. So we exposed all the things which were inside, including all the wires, all the things, all the storage of the janitors and so on are exposed. And also this structure allows, basically we didn't cut the trees, so they pass through the building. And this is how it looked on the opening of the World Championship. On the back you can see Garage Museum, and there is somewhere Kremlin, and this was a big festival of children, sportsmen, people, and this is how it looks on a normal day. You can access this roof. Also, all the infrastructure, basically for MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, everything is exposed and left outside as part of the landscape. This is how the building looks like as a vertical symbol from the approach to the park. The interiors, we made them all completely magenta color to energize people and try to keep them very minimal and simple. Of course, the lattice of the facade and the transparency, this is a place, one of the training spaces for yoga and fitness and different stretching exercises. And it's, I like how the light filters, and this is the corridors. Basically, the building is based on two very two straight corridors, and this is one of them. When you go to the field, to the football or to the basketball pitch to play, so you kind of get this straight line to energize yourself before the sport. The building was sponsored by Nike, so we had to put a logo, but basically a little one after lots of negotiations. But generally, it's a free publicly access building where everyone can go. You can just check in on internet and go there with all your family and play. In winter, it will be occupied from inside, and in summer, people are playing mostly around the building on the basketball court, on the ping pong, on the football pitch. Here you can see also how that everything is completely open, and whatever happens inside is visible. The roof is accessible, and you can go there, and they make yoga trainings on the roof. This is how it looks from above. It casts quite beautiful shadows to the surroundings, and also we use the sportive rubber of the same magenta color, which kind of continuous spills off the interior, and basically it contrasts. The building is very neutral. It tries to be like an infrastructural object, but this color kind of, I think, gets a good harmony with the greeniness of the park. So although the building is quite neutral, this red kind of makes it stand out without the building being kind of a very vivid color. And basically, when we were very happy to see our childhood heroes coming. So, for instance, Ronaldo came to the opening of the building, and he even trained the children during the opening. So now it's open, and it's very liked already by Muscovites and by people who come to the park. And on this note, I would like to thank you for your attention and wish you all a good day.
May I ask you something very... it was built as a temporary pavilion or not? Because it seems that now it's permanent.
Basically, it is a temporary pavilion. That means that I didn't go into technical details, but it means that the slab is lowered below the ground, not more than 500 millimeters, and it has an autonomous building systems. I think it will stay around maybe 10 years. So it's a kind of like in the park, you are not supposed to build a permanent structure, but the park really needed a sportive infrastructure.
But this pavilion will last for?
I think 5 years most likely.
Okay, so it's a temporary for a year for a long time.
Yes, it's kind of it could have stayed longer, but because of the politics of the park,
Sure. I understand.
and I wanted just to be fair, this project was developed together with Strelka KB, which is was executive architects, and in case that there were like the technical questions, we're taking care of them.
And for what else can you use the structure? Like you said that you put the name, but there's another facade that you have this structure, and for what else can you use it?
So the original idea was that this building stands, and it's later the use is add-on to this building. So for instance, you install like this logo, then you deinstall it, you put an artwork. On the other one, you put a scoreboard. And our original idea was a little bit how was shown by Lotek, is that you could climb and kind of make push-ups and that on the building. And it's completely possible. And the structural engineers calculated that people can do all these exercises. You can climb it. But due to, so at first it was accepted by the client, everyone liked it, but due to the security regulations that people can fall, children can break their necks and so on, they officially do not allow it. But of course everyone likes this idea, and we are even thinking of making maybe like a video with a professional parkour people who climb on it, but like with taking all the proper security issues. But originally our idea was that besides walking on it, you can also like climb on it, and people can hang some, I don't know, stretching TRX or whatever, things and so on. It's not actually working like this, but we are constantly, we would like that it is working like this.
Now, what was the budget of the project?
Budget?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I need to check with the legal if I'm allowed to talk about it. I wouldn't say, because I don't remember by the contract if I'm allowed to share it or not. We can speak later off the record.
No worry. Okay.
But it was quite a relatively low budget project for such a prime location, and unfortunately there were, like, let's say, compromises made on the quality, for instance, of the rubber. So if you come there, we are now pushing to remake the rubber with a more high budget, but for instance, this is one of the things which I would like to increase the budget, because the structure is pretty cheap and simple, but the landscape would be better if we had more. Thank you.